Clint Barton is shown in the beginning, teaching his daughter how to shoot an arrow while his wife prepares a picnic meal for them on their remote property. The effect of Thanos snapping his fingers after obtaining all 6 Infinity Stones is Clint's daughter disappearing, along with the rest of Clint's family and half of all life in the universe. After being defeated by Thanos on Titan, Nebula and Tony Stark are left stranded in space. Carol Danvers brings them back to Earth, where they are reunited with Natasha Romanoff, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, Rocket, Thor, and James Rhodes. In order to utilize the Infinity Stones to undo Thanos' actions, the crew devises a plot to steal them back from him. However, when they locate him, they discover that he has already destroyed the stones once, precluding any further usage. He explains to the surviving Avengers that he did this in order to prevent using the stones for any other evil plans. Thor kills Thanos with a beheading out of wrath, saying he should have done it in Wakanda. After leaving the quantum realm 5 years later, Scott Lang returns to find that his daughter Cassie is now a teenager, and that Hope Van Dyne, along with half of the population, has vanished in the snap. While Romanoff is tirelessly maintaining watch over both Earth and the rest of the cosmos, with the assistance of Rhodes, Danvers, Okoye, Rocket, and Nebula, Rogers has been leading grief counseling sessions for survivors still dealing with the impact of the snap. Lang approaches Romanoff and Rogers and explains that, while for them 5 years had passed, only 5 hours had done so for him in the quantum realm, where time moves considerably more slowly. The three go to Stark, who is now co-parenting a child with Pepper Potts, and lay out their notion that it is possible to use the quantum realm to travel back in time and retrieve the Infinity Stones before Thanos can get them. After pondering on the death of Peter Parker, Stark starts to explore theoretical models that would work with Lang's quantum tunnel and eventually finds one that works. At first, Stark rejects their request out of fear for the safety of his family and the tranquility he has found. The remaining Avengers decided to reconstitute their team with Stark now on board. The Hulk has now been accepted by Bruce Banner as a part of himself, and the two have fused into a single consciousness. After learning from Rhodes about an assassin who employs similar tactics to Barton, Romanoff sets out to find him. In an effort to better the world that is still left, Barton, who lost his family and is now overcome with sadness, has been working under the alias Ronin and violently massacring criminal cartels and gangs all across the planet. Once considerable persuasion, he accepts to rejoin the squad in an effort to try to bring his family back once Natasha discovers him in Japan. Banner and Rocket travel to the hamlet of New Asgard, which is home to Valkyrie and the final Asgardian survivors. Thor is discovered by them there, overcome with guilt for failing to slay Thanos in Wakanda. Thor plays Fortnite with his friends Korg and Meek, eats fast food, drinks alcohol, and has grown his hair and beard out. He has also gained weight recently. After being persuaded by Rocket and Banner, Thor reluctantly decides to rejoin the Avengers. The Avengers come up with a plan when Barton uses the quantum time machine to test its functionality and finds out that it works. Banner, Rogers, Lang, and Stark will go after the time, mind, and space stones during the Battle of New York in 2012 to ensure that they are returned. Banner visits the Sanctum Sanctorum, where he learns from the Ancient One that removing the Time Stone from her timeline will prevent Stephen Strange from, in the future, attempting to stop Caecilius from violating the natural laws. She does, however, permit Banner to possess the Time Stone when he informs her that Strange willingly gave it to Thanos, suggesting that Strange had meant for a particular series of events to take place in order for Thanos to be defeated. Banner also guarantees that any negative impacts will be avoided by returning the stones to their correct timelines. Following the Avengers' seizure of Loki's Space Stone, Lang and Stark make an attempt to take it. While Stark steals the briefcase containing the Tesseract when no one is looking, Lang causes a slight cardiac collapse in Stark's former self by tampering with his artificial heart. Stark drops the briefcase after being unintentionally struck by the Hulk, foiling their scheme. The Space Stone is then taken by Loki, who uses it to flee from authorities. Rogers is successful in obtaining the Mind Stone from covert Hydra agents, but on the way back, he runs across his earlier self, who misidentifies him as a disguised Loki. After fighting past Steve, Rogers reunites with Stark and Lang, who now have to devise a different plan to obtain the Space Stone without using up all of the Pym particles that are required to allow them to traverse the quantum world. While Rogers and Stark prepare to take the Space Stone from a U.S. Army installation in the 1970s, and also acquire additional vials of Pym particles to complete the journey back home, Lang returns to the present with the Mind Stone. While there, Rogers sees Peggy Carter, and Stark and his father Howard have a deep chat. Thor and Rocket go to Asgard to get the Reality Stone before Malekith uses it against the Nine Realms. While in Asgard, Thor is reminded of the impending death of his mother Frigga and has a chance encounter with her when Rocket steals the Aether, the Reality Stone's vaporized equivalent from Jane Foster. After Thor receives advice from Frigga and gets Mjolnir, his hammer, they return to Earth. Thor is thrilled to learn that he is still deserving of it. In order to steal the Power Stone before Peter Quill does, Nebula and Rhodes journey to Morag. With the help of the Power Stone, Rhodes travels back in time, but Nebula malfunctions and stays on Morag. Thanos and Ebony Maw learn that future Nebula is present because to the two consciousnesses acting on Nebula's systems, and they set out to abduct her. While attempting to tell the others after realizing what has happened, Nebula is already too late. After scanning her memories and learning about the Avengers' strategy, Thanos sends the more obedient Nebula from the past back in time to act as a spy. When Red Skull, the Stone's guardian, tells Barton and Romanoff that they must sacrifice a loved one in order to obtain the stone, they become conflicted and decide not to go to Vormir. Romanoff ultimately bears the burden of the sacrifice after a struggle between the two, and a sad Barton returns to Earth with the Soul Stone. Following everyone's arrival back in the present on Earth, Stark, Rocket, and Banner set out to create a gauntlet to use the stones that was made using the same nanotechnology as Stark's most recent Iron Man armor. Banner offers to use the gauntlet to bring back everyone who vanished in Thanos' snap, claiming that he can survive both the gamma radiation and the excruciating pain and damage caused by the stones. The quantum portal is destroyed in the process, but he succeeds despite being almost immediately attacked by Thanos, who the fake Nebula had brought to Earth. The Avengers are dispersed after Thanos destroys the Avengers' headquarters, resulting in the gauntlet falling under Barton's custody. While Rogers, Thor, and Stark meet Thanos, who chooses to use the Infinity Stones to destroy the universe and construct one in his vision, rather than use them to steal the Infinity Stones from Barton. The future Nebula kills the past Nebula as she tries to do so. The three take on Thanos one-on-one, with Rogers proving Thor's claim that he is capable of using Mjolnir, but they are all defeated by the villain. Soon after Thanos' army touches down on Earth, T'Challa, the Avengers, and other allies brought back to life by Banner make an appearance before Rogers before attacking Thanos and his army. Thanos wrestles with many Avengers for the Infinity Stones after a protracted struggle in which Stark and Parker are reunited and Quill and a previous Gamora are reunited. When he is restrained by Wanda Maximoff's energies, Thanos gives Glaive the order to launch numerous energy blasts from his ship, nearly destroying the Avengers' efforts. In a battle for control of the gauntlet, Captain Marvel reappears and destroys Thanos' ship. Stark successfully transfers the Infinity Stones from Thanos' hand to his own, using the nanotechnology from the new gauntlet before using them to vaporize Thanos and his whole army while announcing, "I am Iron Man." Stark is comforted by Parker and Potts as he perishes after being exposed to the stone's radiation. The Avengers hold Stark's burial after the conflict, floating his Mark I arc reactor out on the nearby lake. The fact that Romanoff and Vision, who were absent during the snap, would be happy with their defeat of Thanos, gives Barton and Wanda Maximoff some comfort. Thor, who is for the first time ever free of the burden of royalty and leadership, crowns Valkyrie the Queen of Asgard and joins the Guardians of the Galaxy in order to discover his real calling. Parker rejoins his best friend Ned at school, while Barton goes back home to be with his family. While Carter chooses to spend the rest of her life in the past with Rogers, Rogers is entrusted with traveling into the past to return the stones and Thor's hammer to their original timelines. As an elderly man, he emerges in front of Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes and hands Wilson his shield and the cape of Captain America. In a brief flashback, Rogers and Carter can be seen in their living room sharing the dance they always wanted to do. They appear to be finally happy,